people come up with these strange teachings on the end times. They come up with strange teachings in general simply because they don't understand the difference between revelation and intellectual knowledge. It's impossible to understand revelation of Jesus Christ with your intellect. You must hear the Holy Spirit. And people use all kinds of intellectual arguments to prove their theology is correct, but it's worth nothing without the Holy Spirit. It's not revelation without the Holy Spirit. And you can't understand revelation without revelation. Without the Holy Spirit, you're guaranteed to be deceived.
Yep.
Revelation only comes through the Spirit of Jesus Christ, and he gives it to his apostles and prophets for the church. So it's not everybody gets to decide for themselves what is the doctrine of the church. He hands down doctrine through his apostles and prophets because that's the foundation of the church. You can look at Ephesians 2, you can look at Ephesians 4. It's throughout. A number of years ago, I was thinking about how I was just kind of, the Lord had been talking about this topic. I was thinking about how the rapture teaching got started. And I thought, gosh, I'm so glad I have a prophet that helps me with revelation. And so I said to the Lord, gosh, it's unfortunate not everybody has a prophet, that I do. And he replied, no, not everybody has a prophet. So why are they making up revelation for the church? He said, revelation comes through the apostles and prophets. People dream what they want to. They see what they want to sometimes, like a rapture, or these things are not truth. They're not revelation. And who is getting them? Not apostles and prophets. So why are they propagated as though apostles and prophets brought them to the church? And we'll get into why sometimes prophets see things and they interpret it wrongly. But he says this is true for every evil or untrue doctrine. Who do the people think they are bringing revelation that's not from God? And it hasn't come through his apostles and prophets. It's a doctrine of demons. And so this is actually where I asked the Lord, I said, but some prophets do seem to get it wrong, and some apostles actually seem to get it wrong. And he said, yes, within my apostolic network, those apostles and prophets can be easily corrected by other apostles and prophets who have authority over them. When apostles and prophets are not in my network, they are outside my church. Okay, so let's explain that a little bit.
Yeah.
The institutional church may have had apostles and prophets in the past, even currently, but the Lord is putting an end to the institutional church system, and he's going with his apostolic network of house churches. The entire church, including the fivefold ministers, must submit to the apostles that the Lord puts over them. So you want to explain the network, how that works a minute?
Sure.
That would be helpful.
Well, it's hard to do it without a board.
I know we don't have a diagram. That's why I said, would you do it?
Okay, so a network is just we use the word nodes and connections. And so each node will be like an apostle's area of authority, okay? That node may include several churches. It may include a dozen. It may be a whole city. It may be a country, whatever. But they're all connected together. In other words, the smallest node is connected via other apostles to the greatest node, or the greatest apostle over nations, maybe. So it's what he envisions his church to be, is completely interconnected. So you may have a node over here, a node over here. It may be a dozen more that you can imagine, but they'll all have connections running between each other. And there won't be competition between these nodes. They simply exist because God said he wants that to exist. And some of the nodes will excel in certain things, like, let's just say, healing or prophecy. okay, so if this one is the healing one and this is the prophecy, well, they may have somebody that needs in the healing that's really good at healing, but needs work on the prophetic. They can send people there and learn from the node that has a very good teaching on the prophetic. It's really kind of like if just to picture something like a net, and every place where the net comes together is a node, and so you can just picture that all over the whole earth.
Right. And so the Lord has said he has an apostle and a prophet, and he's requiring apostles and prophets to be paired together. So he has an apostle and prophet directly under Jesus, that would be, over the nations. Then within the nations, there's an apostle and prophet team over each nation, maybe even over each continent. And then under them, there would be apostles and prophets either over cities or various regions within the country and so forth. So like for the United States, there's apostle and prophet teams the Lord will place for each state. And then within the state, it might be counties. He might even go so much to say cities underneath the counties. For another country that's not broken up into states, it might be regional or something like that. So, but that's how it works, and that's how he's setting it up.
And I just a note here too on this setup. Tiffany mentioned apostle prophet teams. That's different than it has been in the past. There were apostles and there were prophets. And some of the prophets even worked with an apostle, like Apostle Paul typically had a prophet that traveled with him. But in this scenario, in this network, he's said that he wants every prophet to have an apostle over them. And you may have noticed that there's some really good prophets out there, but they have some really weird theologies and teachings and so on, even though they prophesy very, very accurately. That's what happens. Apostles and prophets need each other because a prophet's words or visions or whatever they come with need to be revealed, and the revelation that comes from the apostle completes that process and brings the truth to the prophet's words. So
right. Yeah. So what the Lord is saying here is he gives revelation for his church through his apostles and prophets. And not every apostle and prophet is like writing doctrine for the church. That goes to those with the most authority. But the doctrine flows down. And so they might revelate on the doctrine and bring even more clarity to it and disseminate that to their churches and so forth. So God speaks to each of us in dreams, visions, etc. But even though God speaks to each of us, it doesn't mean we can each start making up doctrine based on what we see or hear. We must submit it to the apostles and prophets who are over us in authority. And that's how that works.
Welcome to Destiny Road, where we're committed to making a real difference in the fight against human trafficking. We proudly partner with organizations that rescue survivors and provide them with dignified employment opportunities, and also support these brave individuals on their journey to healing.
Our curated collection features crafted items from around the world, handmade jewelry, leather purses, bags, coffee and tea. We also offer books by authors Tiffany and Kirk. You can find their books through Amazon by searching for Tiffany Root.
Thank you for joining us in this important mission. Visit us online at destinyroadstore.com.